Hello, on the 5th of November 2023, this 22-year-old boy by name Siabonga Anderson killed his grandfather because his grandfather reprimanded him and tried to stop him not to bring different girlfriends in his house. Because of that, he got angry and punched his grandfather on the back of his head, and his grandfather fell down and died. He proceeded to carry his grandfather's dead body and buried his grandfather's dead body at the backyard of his grandfather's compound. This all happened at Swalala near White River in Mpumalanga, South Africa. Now guys, if you're new here, please subscribe, like, comment and share. Please subscribe so that we can get up to 1,000 subscriptions, and do not forget to like. By that, this video can go viral, and also do not forget to share with your family members and friends to create awareness about this true crime story. Now guys, without further ado, let us get into this true crime story. 75 years old, Mr. Albert Sanderson is the grandfather of Siabonga Sanderson, who lived in rural South Africa in the South African province of Mpumalanga. He was a cattle rancher by profession. He had so many goats, chicken and cows, which he takes out throughout the day in the field so that they can graze, then bring them back later on in the evening. And his house was so isolated deep in the grass fields of Mpumalanga, South Africa. Due to the fact that Mr. Albert Anderson was living in his isolated apartment house in rural South Africa, and he had so many livestock which he had to tend to. His kids were scared of the fact that thieves might come over to steal one of his cattle. They might just kill him and take all of his cattle. And also it would be so unable for him to tend to his cattle and chickens, then run errands for himself, since as he's already 75 years old, and also do household chores in his own house. So one of his grandson by name Aubrey Sanderson decided that they are going to bring in a grandchild who is 22 years of age by name Siabonga Sanderson. 22-year-old Siabonga Sanderson was brought to come live with his grandfather, 75 years old Albert Sanderson, to help run errands for his grandfather and also do household chores. While his grandfather go out every morning to tend to the flocks in the field, then he returns back in the evening. Siabonga Sanderson was brought by his uncles to come live with his grandfather around January 2023. Now, the first 3 months of him living with his grandfather, everything was very well. He behaved well, he respected his grandfather, and he ran errands for his grandfather. He took care of the household chores very well. His grandfather and him never had issues. Problems started around the 5th month of them living together. Siabonga Sanderson is a young 22-year-old guy. Guys in their early 20s like living life. They like pursuing different girlfriends, bring them home, have sex with them, and bring some other the next day, have sex with them, then send them back. Each time Siabonga's grandfather, Mr. Albert Sanderson, was in the field taking care of his cattle, his sheep and his goat, Siabonga is gonna bring in girlfriends and have sex with them every single day. So his grandfather was never in the house, to see him bring in these girlfriends. But most of the time, the neighbors tell him all the time that Siabonga always brings in girlfriends while he's in the fields taking care of his cattle. His grandfather reprimanded Siabonga, but Siabonga wouldn't listen. Siabonga kept on bringing in girlfriends all the time in his grandfather's house. There are times which on Sundays which his grandfather will not go to the field to graze his cattle. He's going to stay at home on the Sunday. Siabonga Sanderson will sneak in girlfriend and have sex with his girlfriend. And his grandfather will later on get, mourning of a woman screaming and mourning within his own house because his grandson, Siabonga Sanderson, was having sex with one of his numerous girlfriends in his house. So he will always enter inside Siabonga's room, pull the girlfriend out of the bed, kick the girlfriend out of his house, then warn Siabonga seriously. On the other part, Siabonga was so pissed off because his grandfather was 75 years old, will not allow him live his life the way he wants to live, will not let him flex around, having numerous girlfriends, bringing them home, having sex with them, having fun as a young 22-year-old guy. So he was so pissed towards his grandfather. His grandfather warned him not to bring girlfriends again in his house. Did not stop Siabonga Sanderson not to bring girlfriends again in his house. Siabonga Sanderson would keep on bringing girlfriends in his grandfather's house. Even on Sundays where his grandfather does not go to the field to graze his cattle, he stays at home to rest. Siabonga will still sneak in girlfriends and have sex with them in his room. So the D-Day was on the 5th of November 2022 when Siabonga's grandfather was in the house, and Siabonga sneaked in a girlfriend and had sex with the girlfriend in his room, and his grandfather heard the girlfriend mourning and screaming, came over, pulled the girlfriend out of the bed, kicked the girlfriend out of his house, and started reprimanding Siabonga, slapped Siabonga very well, told him, "I do not want this in my house again, this is the last time." And as he turned his back, trying to get out of the door of the room of Siabonga punched him at the back of his neck, and that was it. He fell down and died. He tried waking up his grandfather and realized that his grandfather was dead. He waited around 7 p.m. at night when everyone was sleeping within the neighborhood. He pulled his grandfather's dead body from his room and took his grandfather's dead body at the backyard of his grandfather's house, where he dug a shallow grave and buried his grandfather. So the following day, his grandfather's neighbors saw his grandfather's cattle roaming around in the fields without his grandfather being beside his cattle, helping his cattle graze. So they called Siabunga's uncle, Aubrey Sanderson, and told him that your father's cattle are roaming around the fields grazing alone without your father being around them. So he immediately started calling his father, but his father did not pick up his phone. Then he immediately came over to his grandfather's house, and when he came over to his grandfather's house, he did not find his grandfather at home. He found Siabunga sitting in the house and asked Siabunga, "Where is your grandfather?" Siabunga said he does not know. Then when he turned around, he saw a shallow grave which had been dug. Then he asked Siabunga, "Why is there a place which has been dug at the backyard of my father's house?" Siabunga said it's a place which was dug to hid, sticks of cassava. So he called his other brothers and they started searching around for their grandfather, but to no avail. They immediately reported the matter to the police, and the police started carrying out their investigation. They took Siabunga into police custody to question him further because he was the only one living with his grandfather. And when they mounted so much pressure on him, he started revealing the truth that he is the one who killed his grandfather because his grandfather was reprimanding him not to bring girlfriends in his grandfather's house, and he was so pissed that his grandfather was trying to stand against him living his life the way he wants to live it. So as his grandfather slapped him and as his grandfather turned away, started walking away towards the door of his room, he punched his grandfather at the back of his head, and his grandfather fell down and died. Being scared that if the police knows he's going to go to prison, he decided to pull his grandfather's dead body from his room right up to the backyard of the house, where he buried his grandfather around 7 p.m. at night when places are still dark. So guys, this is his grandfather's dead body being excavated from that shallow grave which he buried his grandfather. What do you all think? I'll let you get your thoughts down in the comment section. Guys, this true crime story is crazy. Like, for you to kill your grandfather because your grandfather reprimanded you not to bring girlfriends in his own house. In his own house. These android children of the 21st century are wild. They are so disrespectful. If your grandfather says do not bring girlfriends in his house, it is his house. Do not bring girlfriends in his house. You can take the girlfriends somewhere else, in the bushes where you can have sex with them, but not in your grandfather's house. It's so disrespectful. I understand where he's coming from. He's a young 22-year-old guy. He wants to live his life, He wants to have so many women, have sex with them, have fun. He should do that when he's renting his own house, And he can do that. No one will come over to question him, why are you bringing girlfriends in your own house? But you don't do that in your grandfather's house, in your father's house, in your mother's house, or in someone else's house who is your guardian. They have the right over you to tell you, do not bring girlfriends in my house. Because of the pleasure of having sex, you've killed your grandfather. It's crazy. So guys, what do you all think?